Thank you, Chair. Yes, such was the strength of feeling about this petition to resurface Cambridge Road and Shelford Road, the A1301, that in just a few short weeks we gathered, as you said, 674 signatures online. And we also had a further batch of another 17 paper signatures, which I've brought along. So, in presenting our petition for this urgent full resurfacing of the A1301 Cambridge Road, Shelford Road, between Granham's Road in Great Shelford and the junction with Hawkston Road in Trumpington, I note with thanks that this section of carriageway has now been added to your capital maintenance programme for 2026-27. This should be cause for celebration. However, I fear that we have been here before. Exactly 1 year ago, this committee approved the resurfacing of a smaller section of the same road, namely Tunwells Lane and High Green in Great Shelford. But, as everyone knows, the works on that section are yet to be even started. And in the meantime, residents and other road users have endured a horrible winter of atrocious surface deterioration, while any and all pothole reports, however dangerous and urgent, were simply batted away with the response, "Works already programmed." Lobbying our elected councillors was in vain, and it was only when a national newspaper and TV coverage highlighted the appalling state of this long stretch of road that even the most cursory of emergency repairs was done. The road is more tolerable now since your contractor's latest pass of those myriad repair patches, thank you, but it will not cope with another autumn and will probably not cope with another hot summer either. So please, we urge the committee and those responsible for scheduling these works to now commit to completing the full resurface from Headley Gardens all the way to Hawkston Road, as it says in your capital maintenance programme, but doing it in one go. You're going to start in April with the first bit. Please continue until it is finished. Thank you.
So firstly, Tunwell Lane starts on the 7th of April. It will be a 6-week programme, and those works have been scheduled to ensure timely and safe network access. Thank you for the petition relating to the A1301. We recognise that the authority's highways activities do have a significant impact across the county, and we do recognise that our roads are a high priority to residents, our communities and our stakeholders using the highway network. The A1301 is a very important route to us. As you've highlighted, and as is on the agenda today, further work has been identified on the A1301, and this is through our capital prioritisation process. So the route was identified based on asset condition data, and it scored very highly through that process, scoring 51 out of a maximum 65. So as a result of that, we're proposing to allocate over 1.5 million towards resurfacing of this route. This is in addition to the already identified project between Granham's Road and Station Road, which we'll schedule to commence in April. So the sections of the A1301 we will be repairing are identified in Appendix 1 of the report that will be discussed as part of today's agenda, and they include Shelford Road, London Road, Great Shelford, and Cambridge Road in Great Shelford. In the meantime, until that work's delivered, we are closely monitoring this route. We continue to inspect it on a regular basis, and we take reactive action in line with our operational standards as needed. Hope that helps.
Thank you, Chair, again. As a road user who takes time to report defects on your system, I have experienced very variable responses to my reports of white lining defects. Your website somewhere has shown a table saying that giveaway signs will be repaired within 5 days of a report, with all other types of white lines being replaced within 13 weeks. In my experience, this has never been the case in practice. As just one example, on my regular cycle route to my village, there is a totally missing giveaway line to the main 1301, which I first reported last October and remains invisible to this day, despite, again, my local elected councillors trying to chase it up. On page 53 of this new Highways Asset Management Strategy document, I see that it very helpfully gives photographic examples of the state of white lines that would count as Category 1A, Category 1B and Category 2. That all looks great on paper, but it is a complete fiction. And those given timescales of now 5 days and 21 days for priority cases totally ignore the fact that your white lining works are focused on when the weather is suitable, i.e. in the warm and dry weather more typical of spring and summer. Last June, I raised directly with the council the issue of missing white lines on Hills Road near the sixth form college. I chased this again in August, at which point I extracted from your Report It site, the old version, a full list of the outstanding white lining report faults for that area, the oldest of which dated back to March 2023, and itself referred to those lines having not been repainted for 10 years prior to that. I raised the case with the executive team later in the autumn when I hadn't heard, and only yesterday was I told that an order to repaint had in fact been placed last November, but its 13-week timescale expired last week. The weather was blamed as the culprit for non-completion this time. So today I am urging you, committee, not to approve this new strategy in its current state, because it lists unachievable timescales given for replacing barely visible road markings. I think it is dishonest to put such a process down on paper unless you have the resources and procedures in place to actually carry out what you're promising in practice. Thank you.
So Miranda's first. So thank you for providing feedback on the new highway asset management strategy. I would like to thank you for taking the time to review the document and your positive comments regarding some of the changes which have been proposed. It is important to note that the changes proposed in this document won't go live until the start of July 2026. Until then, the existing Highway Operational Standards document will be in place. Whilst it is best practice to undertake road marking maintenance during the summer months, avoiding the poorer weather, the new timeframes will be applicable all year round, and work should be undertaken in line with the timeframes set out in the strategy from July. Hills Road has been identified in our in next year's highway maintenance programme for resurfacing, and 1.8 million has been allocated to this project. All road markings would be refreshed as part of this work. A further £800,000 worth of funding has also been allocated specifically for the maintenance of road markings county-wide. I have also asked the local highway maintenance team to follow up when a revised date is confirmed for the work that Miranda outlined.
Along the 1.6 miles of the arterial A1301, there are a few safe pedestrian crossings. Due to the volume of traffic and the width of the carriageway, crossing the road can be extremely hazardous for residents. For example, there is only one pedestrian crossing on the 1.6-mile stretch of road between the junctions at Addenbrooks Road and Station Road, and there are minimal traffic calming measures. Drivers will often exceed the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, with the only physical limits on speed being the car ahead of them, and the risk of damage from potholes littering the surface of the road. I have personally spoken with residents who find crossing the road at peak times dangerous. Will the Highways Committee address residents' needs by installing an additional safe crossing point opposite Scottsdale's and the Shelford Rugby Club as part of the 2026-2027 Local Transport Improvements Program? And will the committee agree to improving safety by adding traffic calming measures along this busy road? Thank you.
Thank you. So the first one regarding Great Shelford. So thank you for taking the time to contact us regarding an additional crossing point on the A1301. I'm sorry to read that residents currently find crossing the road at peak times dangerous. I confirm that our transport proposals database lists an application for a pedestrian refuge and speed cushions at this location, Cambridge Road near Scottsdale's. This is a previously unsuccessful LHI scheme with an estimated scheme cost of over £50,000. The area also has additional entries, including for a cycleway improvement and junction improvements on the A1301 Cambridge Road and Granham's Road. Currently, these schemes remain unfunded, but will be revisited in advance of the 27-28 capital funding cycle. To note that Great Shelford Parish Council have also submitted a new application via our LHI process, so the local highway improvement process, for a pedestrian refuge island near Scottsdales. This is currently being assessed by officers and will be scored by a member panel later in the year. An update will be presented to Highways and Transport Committee in October 2026. This is a competitive process with each scheme being scored and ranked up to the funding threshold.